wanted to start it off with that because, as you could see, got the prominent close, we got this close, and all the draws that had been marked out got completely wrecked after this very prominent sweep of the all-time high. Then it inversed this, so it wasn't showing no more bullish tendency. And now we kind of made a great past 3 weeks of just straight up down. And these are our real first down candles since this whole bull run happened. And I'm gonna just walk through what we can expect, which is probably seeing these lows once again. I feel like we could draw still down to these, but these are very high time frame draws, so we can still draw down to those. On the daily, we kind of already swept out all of this low resistance liquidity with all these lows here, so we can remove those, but those are great, easy targets to follow. And we're still moving down. We have already swept this high, broke structure to the downside, tapped into daily fair value gaps, and sunk lower. We can most likely see a rebalance onto this fair value gap. I'll remove here and come back up and probably sink off of it. Unless on the 4 hour. On the 4 hour, we have the same bias. We can get a move up into like this 4 hour high and this huge imbalance, sweep out this minor buy side liquidity, and then fall lower. Additionally, on NASDAQ has been chopping, but also getting lower movement. So we can find some draws here. We just swept out this higher time frame draw on the weekly. Let's see how that's reacting to on the 4 hour. So 4 hour swept it, instantly rejected back off of it, but we're definitely going to be seeing these equal lows. So take a mark of this. Make sure you watch these equal lows for the draw. Hold on, let me just fix that. I'll make it purple. This is definitely the next draw on liquidity. And it really depends how this fair value gap forms. If it wants to come back up, close this candle, create the fair value gap, and then bounce off of it lower. But as of now, it's just we're confirmed bearish after sweeping out these highs. This high here, after sweeping out this high right over here, we're most likely confirmed bearish because it never returned to it. And we finally got to break a structure. And if this week closes without without closing underneath this, if it closes underneath this candle here, you could definitely anticipate it going lower and these lows getting hit and this imbalance getting filled here. And at least, we could have a good range like the equilibrium. All this looks like is just a higher time frame buy side liquidity sweep. And now we just got the breaker structure on the weekly. Only thing we really kind of have to pay attention to is on the monthly where the fair value gaps lie. So right now we're pretty much all clean. We're clean to go down to this low here. And then that's when we have an imbalance. And this can be a point of either bouncing or a point of just inversing through it. Either one, there's still plenty of room to this imbalance. So, and yeah, if it inverses this imbalance, you could definitely see equilibrium, this monthly low getting hit. You definitely see all of that working out. But as you can see on the monthly time frame, all it looks like really is the market maker with the curve right over here. That was the sell side curve until it swept out this. This was like the major sell side that aligned with the equilibrium of the range. As you can see, tapped into OTE, tapped into this, sell side liquidity, this fair value gap, and then broke structure to the upside and eventually hit the all-time high. Now we just want to see, okay, is it going to come down to this fair value gap, inverse it, or is it going to come down, bounce off of it, and on the weekly, see what it plays off of. I'd say if it inverses this one, you could definitely see it coming down to here. But we just have to see how it plays out because as of now, we still are within the buy side of the curve. This very well could just be a retrace to go higher, but we still have a lot of room to play with here. Like these lows, these lows. Well, this would be the very highest confluence low that you have to watch out for because this is the one it can really play off of. If it wants to sweep this low here, which I think it will sweep this low, but the issue is you got to make sure it doesn't bounce off of it when you're in a short because we already did get the break of structure. So we get this break of structure and we're kind of playing on these very high time frames like weekly and monthly, which isn't great, but what makes it great is that we have these deep targets that we could play for. I see this gap. I don't see it getting hit again. I wouldn't recommend waiting for this fair value gap to get retested and then short off of it, just because this could be an ICT breakaway gap. I'd probably look for a lower one down here if this one closes and then see it. Okay, because it's been falling extremely. Now, if it wants to come back up here and sweep out this high and play into this imbalance and then fall, that's cool too. You could play off of that. But this is kind of the huge draw on liquidity right here. So make sure you guys mark this out. Draw on liquidity. Make sure, because this is extremely important place. And also this purple line with all these equal lows right in here. So make sure you're monitoring these for the next couple days. And there's not much else to say on NASDAQ. Anyway, back on ES. Let me just say one thing about news really quick. As you can see, there's been like a lot of news when all these big moves happen. And usually I would recommend to stay away from news on these days. And let me just check out the next week. So I'd say usually stay away from news, but the only issue with these news is that the only reason I wouldn't care if you trade it and why I actually kind of recommend it is because news is used to take out big liquidity pools. Everybody knows that. So these liquidity pools, as you can see, there's been a lot of past news. That's why it's been taking them out so heavily on all of these huge candles, taking them out, taking them out, taking them out during the news, because this is a big liquidity pool. This low, this low, this low, this low, this low. These are big liquidity pools. That's what the news is there for, to wipe out those lows, to stop out certain traders that have their stops underneath these lows. And so don't be too afraid of the news as of now until maybe these lows get swept out on ES. But if there is going to be any news and you're sitting there and you're like, okay, this news is going to make the market move, you're going to know what it's going to target. So I'd say if you want to get on it, de-risk, and just target those lows and target exactly the nice liquidity pools we have marked out. That's pretty much it for now. We just have been moving very nicely, extremely well with how the market's been moving and these lows being taken. We've been waiting for kind of a rebalance like this for a long time. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Have any questions, just let me know.